Happy Australia Day. This is BIT or Biotron on the 1 hour chart. Let's have a look at the US 30, what happened over the last 2 trading days. Of course, Australia has been on Australia Day, so we've got a long weekend. We didn't trade on Monday, and of course the US session runs after Friday, our local time, so it's had 2 whole trading sessions ahead of us. And we can see it kind of tanked a little bit, 400 points-ish. And one could argue that's related to this coronavirus stuff that's been happening on the news the last 4 or 5 days. And the ASX, of course, tanked as well. Meanwhile, Biotron is looking quite healthy. The entire biomedical sector is looking healthy, but in terms of the spec market, Biotron is looking quite nice. If we look at the daily chart, it looks quite nice when you zoom in. When you zoom out, you go, right, this has some history, and it's got plenty of ugly history. So before we dive into the story of Biotron, let's look at the basics. Let's go to section 8 of the appendix 3B. That tells us the number of shares. Now I haven't looked at this stock in God knows how long, so this is a bit new for me. 701 million shares, and we multiply that by 8.5 cents. So 701.085. So the market cap is just shy of $60 million. So for that 60 million market cap, what do we actually get? From the business, we have $0 in revenue, which is not too unexpected from a speculative biomedical stock, as they focus on this, R&D. They spent just under $1 million on that, and 200k in staff costs, 120k in corporate costs and admin costs. So that's about a 75% R&D, 25% staffing costs. So they spent 1.2 mil for the quarter. And we can see they did a raise here. So it's not a capital raising because that'll fall under 3.1. So they did a exercise of share options and they got $5.3 million out of it. So if we scroll down, we can see that they have about $8.7 million in the bank and they spent 1.2 mil. So they've got quite a bit of money. So let's have a look at what they're doing next quarter. Next quarter, they plan on spending just under $1.5 million. So their financial situation is quite stable. They're not pulling in any money, but at least they have money. And there's no real fear of a capital raising. I mean, if they plan on consistently spending 1.5, I mean, that's about $6 million a year, and they have $8 million in cash. So there's actually quite a bit of money there. Now that we've covered the basics, let's look at the chart. We can see on Wednesday, the 22nd of January at 3 p.m. in the final hour of trade, there was a 30% push from 6.5 cents to 8.4. And that was about 12 million shares, which was about $850,000 to $900,000. Now that's not an insignificant sum. Considering it's a speculative stock and around this price range, the market cap would have been around $40 million. This is actually quite a significant move. As a result, the ASX issued a speeding ticket, also called a price query. The ASX issues a standard set of questions that they send to pretty much every company once they have a speeding ticket or a price query. And this is it here. Nothing too significant. It's just basically, are you leaking information or has information been leaked the market should be aware about? And typically you'll get this kind of response. You'll get no, not available, no, no. But in this case, Biotron have responded. Now, some companies are smart enough, particularly in the speculative space. If they have a price query issued, they'll take this opportunity to promote and sell the stock to potential investors and shareholders. Because there's a lot of eyes that actually go onto these speeding tickets. People tend to read them. And when they see this could be seen as just a real quick snippet of what the business does. And people, surprisingly, believe it or not, will put money into a stock just on the back of reading something like this. Now, it's all well and good that the company is doing research and development to cure things like HIV, but that's not where it stops. HIV is seen as a virus, and Biotron is seen as a company that works in antiviral drugs. So, of course, you can see where coronavirus comes into this story. So it comes to absolutely no surprise that on the BIT forums, we see a thread called BIT Cure for Coronavirus ? With 103,000 views in the past few days. Now that's a lot of attention on a stock that has 60 million market cap. Of course, people will have an interest in it, and once the stock goes up, people will feel more confident that a stock will keep going up, and you'll have this little bit of a snowball effect. So it won't surprise me if we see about 10 cents, maybe 11 cents for BIT in the near future, keeping in mind that the current price is 8.5. So before you trade the Biotron story, there's two things you need to know. Firstly is the history. Biotron has looked at hepatitis, they've looked at HIV, they've looked at Zika, HCV, bird flu, and probably now it wouldn't surprise me if they looked into coronavirus. Now why would they do that if they're already looking at HIV? Because they want to get their brand or their company known. It's no different to a junior mining company. When the lithium boom was going off a couple of years ago, every mining junior wanted to look for lithium tenement. They wanted to strike it rich on lithium. This is no different. There's going to be biomedical stocks and they're going to want to look into coronavirus. It'll get their name out there. It'll get interest in the stock. It'll keep the stock and company alive. Now, I'm not suggesting Biotron will 100% go down the coronavirus route. That's just speculation. And that's what people are buying into. They're buying into the speculation that this stock could look into the next big thing, which is coronavirus. So the second thing we need to know before trading the Biotron story is how long do infectious diseases last in the news cycle? Because of course, the longer it's in the news, the more interest there is, and the more interest there is, the more likely there's going to be money put into these kinds of stocks. So we have heaps and heaps of examples. We've got two coronaviruses historically, so we've got MERS and SARS. Then we've got other infectious diseases like Ebola, Zika, swine flu, and these stuck around in mainstream and social media for about 2 weeks at most. So we can expect something similar from the coronavirus. And of course it's being pitched as something that'll wipe out the earth, and that'll just drive the story further and drive more interest in these speculative stocks. So let's go over the summary. We've got a coronavirus that's got 1 to 2 more weeks of news cycle. We've got BIT, which is an antiviral company. We've got speculation that the company will cure or at least work on curing the coronavirus. Purely speculation. Historically, the company has dabbled in infectious diseases, so it's actually a reasonable speculation that this company would move to mention coronavirus. We've got financials that are quite safe at $8.5 million. They're spending a reasonable amount on R&D, ranging from 1.2 to 1.5 million. We've got 700 million shares, which is a high amount, but still quite safe to trade as it's below $1 billion. And we've got market cap, which feels a little bit high at 60 million at 8.5 cents, but we know that trading hype can push this a lot higher. So now that we have a story for Biotron, the story that we're going to trade, let's have a look at some targets. Now in the last 9 months or so, there hasn't been too much volume and volatility. It's kind of been sideways. There's been a little bit of a trend line here that's been broken out of. But if we look at the long-term picture, we can see there's a Fibonacci level here. And the 78.6, which is 11 cents, has acted as a support and resistance level. I wouldn't bother looking at 18.3 or 23.3 cents here. That's just too far out of our reach. For now, we're just going to target a horizontal level, which just happens to be the 78.6 here. There are some lighter resistance levels at 10.5 and 10 cents. For me personally, if there's no news release, if nothing comes out of Biotron that they're actually going to work on coronavirus, the hype alone, the speculation alone may drive this to 10 cents. It's also worth noting in the last 3 months that a lot of spec stocks have been 10-cent magnets, right? If they hit around the 8 cent, 9 cent mark, they're almost always going to hit 10 cents. It's just a psychological kind of magnet, a technical push, and that's sort of something we'd be looking at. We'd be looking at 10 cents to 9.9 cents as a target, and if there's any further news releases, we'd have to reassess and determine the strength and the hype surrounding that announcement and determine whether it can push past this 11 cent barrier. Now, I particularly wouldn't expect it, so for me, right now, I'd be looking at an 8 cent sort of entry and a move to 10 cents in the short term in the next, say, 1 to 2 weeks. Now, keep in mind, guys, you can tell this coronavirus story and apply the same fundamental analysis on a wide variety of biomedical stocks. I just chose BIT because currently it has a lot of eyes on it. Secondly, it has a history of dealing with headline-based viruses and infectious diseases, so they're most likely the ones to dive into a coronavirus-based announcement in the near future. However, if you come across any speculative stock that deals with coronavirus or brings out an announcement for it, it also may be worth looking into. So that's the end of my overview for BIT. Just to let you guys know, I've set up a new Twitter page. If you can follow me at demoniacoasx, that'd be sweet. If you can leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, it makes a big difference. I'd appreciate it, guys. Cheers.